Hey everybody, Captain Lou here with another edition of Tigers Daily in partnership with the Pan Arch Network. Happy Friday. Welcome to the weekend, everybody. August the 14th, 2026. August the 14th. Already the month is just about half over. Time flies when the Tigers are doing good, and that's exactly what they're doing as they now have the final wild card spot. Hey, before we get started, a reminder that for those of you that are checking us out for the first time, I say welcome to the Tigers Daily family. We talk all things Tigers, the good, the bad, and everything in between. We take a look at the latest rumors, all the stuff going on and off the diamond for the Tigers. We take a look at stats, all things Major League Baseball, the games from the night before, and we take a look at what's coming up for the Tigers. For those of you that have subscribed, I say thank you very much. The response, again, has been so exciting, so wonderful, phenomenal. All kinds of words. The viewership has been off the charts, the banner back and forth. So, again, for those of you that haven't subscribed, we invite you to hit that subscribe button and be a part of the Tigers Daily family. And also welcome our brand new partner to Tigers Daily. That's Kalshi. For a limited time, download the Kalshi app and use the promo code FANARCHBASEBALL, and you'll get $10 when you trade 10. It's that simple. Kalshi, where you go to trade for Major League Baseball. All right. Let's get it started. What a way to start the weekend. Indeed, a happy time in the clubhouse at Comerica Park for the Tigers. 3-0. Kiter Montero was money yesterday. 6 1/3 innings for the Tigers. No strikeouts, but it was shutout ball. And that's all we ask for the Tigers. The bullpen held up the shutout as well. So again, the Tigers take the series finale and the series 2-1 with that 3-0 shutout. Eduardo Valencia, he got the big home run for the Tigers to help them to that victory. 60 up, 61 down for the Tigers. What can you say? The baseball gods were smiling down on the Tigers yesterday again. The White Sox blew a lead. They lost. The Rangers got thumped by the Angels. They got shut out. I mean, the Twins lost to the Phillies in the Field of Dreams game. Everyone that we needed to take a hit took a hit last night. So, again, the Tigers now are occupying the final wild card spot in the American League. And who would have thought that? We'll go over the complete standings as we always do towards the end of the broadcast. But, again, a big day for the Tigers yesterday. Some crazy stats that came out of that game yesterday. How about this? For the first time since 2014, a Tigers team with a shutout with no strikeouts. That's crazy. And this is the one that is really impressive to me for the Tigers. In the last 14 games, the Tigers have 6 shutouts. That's never happened in franchise history. That, to me, that's mind-blowing to me. The pitching staff is just pitching phenomenal for the Tigers. Who needs Skubal? Who needs Mize? Now, here's another stat, one more that I want to throw at you. There's only 2 pitchers that have losing records for the Tigers since June 1st, and one of them's not on the team anymore. That's Casey Mize. The other one, Framber Valdez. And those of you that keep barking about what Detroit could be doing with Skubal, he was 5-4. Now, I understand. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to say that they don't need Skubal. I'm not saying that. I'm just trying to let everybody just enjoy what the Tigers are doing right now. Quit looking at what could have been. The Tigers right now, 60 up, 61 down, occupying that final wild card spot in the American League, and are 2.5 games behind the White Sox, who, by the way, as you know, are coming to Detroit for a 3-game set starting tonight. Some news with the Tigers. James Outman was placed on the 7-day concussion IL. I mean, how many different injured list designations do they have now in Major League Baseball? I understand the paternity list one. That's awesome. I think that's amazing. I think it's great. And now they've got the 10-day IL, the 15-day DL, the 60-day IL, all kinds of ILs. Now they've got the 7-day concussion IL, which, again, for safety purposes, I get it. But who did they bring up? This one mystifies me. They brought up Trey Cruz again. Now, I don't know why they won't bring up Max Anderson. We talked about it yesterday on the show. That's who that's who I said should have been the next call-up. We asked you who would be your next call-up from Toledo or Erie, and a consensus was Anderson or potentially Callahan coming up, which I think is a good move too. I just don't understand the fascination with Trey Cruz only as maybe bringing him up as a defensive replacement. He's hitting 230 in Toledo, 2 home runs. He's got no pop in his bat, and he's not hitting for average. The only thing I can think of is they're going to bring him in for a late inning defensive replacement. But you know what? I would rather have somebody else with pop in their bat if Detroit needs them. Now, I know that Detroit right now, they're getting good play from their bench guys. I mean, Hao Yu Lee has been tearing it up since June 1st. And, I get it. Eduardo Valencia is playing well. But I understand it. But I just don't understand why they decide to bring up Trey Cruz instead of anybody, with the likes of Max Anderson. I don't understand it, but I'm not A.J. Hinch. I'm not the one managing. I'm not Scott Harris. I'm just like you, a passionate fan base wondering why they would bring up Trey Cruz instead of somebody else with a little more pop in their bat. I don't get it, but again, apparently that's just me. And here's to Dylan Dingler. Let's see if he can break out of the slump. 1 for his last 27. Kind of scuffling right now. But, hey, the way to look at it, at least the way I'm looking at it, the Tigers are still winning despite his slump. So that just means once he breaks out of it, it's going to be another weapon for the Tigers. So things looking good right now for the Tigers as they go into that 3-game set with the White Sox. Now, yesterday, in my opinion, was a day for pitchers in Major League Baseball. I just wanted to go over some of these stats and some of these, some of these games that happened yesterday in Major League Baseball. It was brought up in one of the comments, and again, I love when people, the interaction here on Tigers Daily has been amazing. I love the comments, love the banter back and forth. One of the questions was asked, what has happened with complete games in Major League Baseball? The Tigers, I can't tell you. I'm going to have to look it up for tomorrow to see when the last complete game was for the Tigers. I mean, Major League Baseball now, they don't let these guys, if they got perfect games or no hitters, they don't risk it anymore. They pull them after the 7th inning. But we had a complete game sighting yesterday in Major League Baseball. Braxton Ashcroft, 85-pitch complete game for the Pittsburgh Pirates yesterday in their 13-1 victory. Who was the last pitcher in Major League Baseball to pitch a complete game, 85-pitch game? Framber Valdez, when he was pitching for the Houston Astros last year. How ironic is that? Other games yesterday, how about Peyton Toll, 8 shutout innings for Boston against Toronto. Cade Cavalli, 8 shutout innings for the Nationals over the Cubs. Seattle with a 1-0 win over the Yankees. And again, how about the Angels, a 7-0 win over the Texas Rangers yesterday. Seattle, a 1-0 victory over the Yankees. And again, the Phillies with a 7-1 win. So the pitching dominated yesterday. But again, I just had to bring it up. It's nice to see a complete game pitched in Major League Baseball. In a perfect world, I know every staff would like to have their starter go 7-8 innings, or at least 8 innings. But those are more of the exception rather than the rule. Once you get to 100 pitches, you're out. It doesn't matter if you're in the 5th inning or the 8th inning. So, I don't know. It's just a different mindset in Major League Baseball. But when we get a complete game and a day where we've got shutouts and 8 strong innings pitched by numerous pitchers, I'd like to bring it up, and that's what we do here on Tigers Daily. So, all right, before we go any further, a reminder again that our brand new partner here on Tigers Daily is Kalshi. Download the Kalshi app and use the promo code FanArchBaseball, and you get $10 when you trade $10. There's different ways you can use it. You can trade on future bets. Now, here's a future bet for you with the Tigers. Right now, they are at a 53.8% probability to make the playoffs. So they're trading at 48.2 or 46.2, I beg your pardon, which means if you trade $10, your return on investment would be right around $19. So it's that simple. And the beauty thing of this is with Kalshi, you're not going against the house. You're trading against your peers. And if at any time you don't like the probabilities or they change, you can sell it. It's that simple. It's just another twist, and that's why we want to have. It's an exciting new way to keep track on baseball and all your sports and anything. So go to Kalshi, Kalshi, and download the app and use the promo code FanArchBaseball, and you'll get $10 when you trade $10. The new way to trade. Baseball season, obviously, is in the stretch drive, and you can trade on every game with Kalshi. All right, everybody, it's time. The weekend is here. That means the Chicago White Sox are coming to town. Such a big series for the Tigers. Who on June 1st would have thought that the Tigers would be playing for potentially the top spot in the American League Central? They were 22-38. Well, the tide has turned. Now they've been 38-23. So now they're just 2.5 games behind the White Sox for first place. And again, as I mentioned, they hold that final wild card spot. Here's the rotation for the Tigers. They're going to pitch Jackson Jobe. Number one question, how many innings do you think they're going to let Jobe go? How many pitches, I think, is the better question. Are they going to bump it up a little bit? He went 71 pitches in his last outing. Shutout baseball. Do you think maybe they'll let him go 80 or 85? Could that take him into the sixth inning? Hopefully it does tonight for the Tigers. For the White Sox, it looks like it's going to be a bullpen game, as it looks like it's going to be Sean Newcomb. He's had a few saves for the White Sox, so on paper it looks like a bullpen session, a bullpen game for the White Sox. On Saturday, it's going to be Troy Melton. He's going to be taking the White Sox on. They're going to be countering with Anthony Kay. He's 9-5, 398 earned run average, 130 strikeouts, I believe. And then on Sunday, maybe a quasi-bullpen game for the Tigers. Drew Anderson gets to start. And again, how many pitches is A.J. Hinch going to let him go? Is he going to bump it up a little bit for Drew Anderson as well? Are they going to give him 80 pitches, maybe 85? Bumped it up a little bit more in his last start, so we'll keep an eye on that. He's going to go up against Sean Burke, 7-6. He's got a 299 earned run average, 156 strikeouts. So we got some strikeout pitchers coming to Detroit this weekend with the White Sox. So, again, White Sox 2.5 games ahead of the Tigers for first place in the American League Central. Detroit in second, all alone. All right, let's go over some stats now and get the standings for Major League Baseball. First in the American League, let's talk about it. The Tampa Bay Rays, right now, by percentage points, they've got the best record in Major League Baseball, 74 up, 46 down. Their lead 6.5 over the Yankees, 9.5 over the Red Sox. We already talked about the Central Division with the Tigers. They trailed the Chicago White Sox, who are on top. They're 62 up, 58 down, 2.5 over the Tigers, 3.5 over the Twins, who lost last night, 4 over the Cleveland Guardians. And Detroit 2 games ahead of the Twins in the loss column, along with the Guardians. In the West, the Astros, their lead is 2 now over the Texas Rangers. They're the only team above 500 in the West. They're at 62 up and 60 down. The Braves, their lead 9 over the Philadelphia Phillies. The Braves have won 2 straight. Phillies winning that game last night against the Minnesota Twins. So they're 9 games out. And the Marlins now 11.5 behind the Braves. In the Central, the Brewers won last night over the Dodgers. 3 runs in the top of the ninth to stun the Dodgers. The Cubs lost. They got shut out by the Nationals. So now the lead for Milwaukee is 4 in the National League Central. And in the West, the Dodgers lost last night, as we mentioned. The Padres, they're now just 8 back. They've won 5 straight. They're 65 up, 57 down. And the team with the longest winning streak now in Major League Baseball, the Tampa Bay Rays, they've won 9 straight. And then the wild card, we've been talking about it. The Yankees hold the top wild card. The Red Sox hold the second spot. The Tigers, they hold the third spot. They've got a half-game lead over the Rangers, and they've got a game lead over the Twins, a game and a half over the Guardians, 2 over the Blue Jays, 2 over the Orioles, 3.5 over the Mariners. And if you look at the loss column, Detroit's got 61 losses, 1 better than the Rangers, 2 better over the Twins and the Guardians, 3 better over the Toronto Blue Jays, and again 2 losses over the Baltimore Orioles. Games in hand, that's what comes to play here with the Tigers. They've got a couple of games in hand on the Minnesota Twins and a game in hand on the Texas Rangers. And finally, in the National League, the wild card spots, the top one held by the Cubs. The Padres hold a second and a half game lead over the Phillies, who have a half game lead over the Diamondbacks, and 2.5 over the Marlins. All right, some stats before we go to your comments. Let's take a look at what Spencer Torkelson has done. Since July 26th, with runners in scoring position, he's batting .474 with an OPS of 1.289. How does that not stand out? And the important stat that we like to bring up here every day, the benchmark, what we think the threshold is for the Tigers to get into the playoffs, 85-77. That means right now they'd have to go 25-16 the rest of the way to get to the playoffs. 83-79, an outside shot to do it. They would have to go 23-18 the rest of the way. But I'd be a lot more comfortable, as I'm sure a lot of you would be as well, if they went 85-77 at least. And to do that, they would have to go 25-16 the rest of the way to do that. So the important numbers that we're talking about here for the Tigers. And again, looking back at Kiter Montero real quick, we talked about his up and down outings. Again, the great one that he had yesterday, 6 1/3 shutout innings, no earned runs. In his last starts before that, he had 5 earned runs in 6 innings. And then before that, he had that 7-inning performance where he had 0 earned runs, and then 4 earned runs in 4 1/3 innings. And then before that, 5 1/3 with 1 earned run. Back and forth with him on that. So we'll keep an eye on that as well for the Tiger. Hopefully, Montero can string a few more of those good outings together. All right, finally, let's take a look at some of the comments, as we like to always do here on Tigers Daily. How about Joel and BLU? Dingler watching those 3 pitches. Yeah, that was crazy. We talked about that, how they ended the game the other night. Just a little bit different. I was a little surprised by it. You know, he was a little fooled on the first couple, but obviously fooled on the third one. You can tell he's scuffling a little bit. Let's hope that he breaks it out. Torkelson batting .379 over his past 15 games. Now, again, I've said this before. When I'm wrong, I admit it. Torkelson is heating up. And, boy, when he's got runners in scoring position, it's absolutely amazing. And so, yeah, Torkelson has definitely been one of the reasons that the Tigers are doing as well as they have now. Let's look at some of the other ones. Night Owl Kingdom, I think, or KN6GM. I wholeheartedly agree with it. You need to call up Max Anderson once the rosters expand. I think someone else that needs to be considered for the 28th roster spot is outfielder Brett Callahan. He's a sleeper in the system, and seemingly nobody is really talking about him. He hits for a solid average and has speed, along with a plus arm in the outfield. Definitely. I always forget to mention Brett Callahan. Great call that time by Kingdom Owl. 313 Michigan. Oh, I beg your pardon. One last, let's see. Let's take a look at Virgil Green, 3108. We haven't heard from him in a while. I'm hoping it's the Brewers' turn for a World Series. Of course, I'll be rooting for the Tigers to play in it. But what if it's Tampa? Wouldn't ruin anything to have 2 small market teams. That, of course, with the talking about the conversation that we had the last couple of days about small market, the advantages that the bigger markets have with the TV revenues, and talking about a potential salary floor. We talked about that in our previous shows as well. So, again, thanks to everybody for taking the time to comment here on Tigers Daily. It's always great to catch up with everybody. So, all right, the weekend is here. It's time to enjoy some Tigers baseball. The White Sox in town for 3 tonight, and then tomorrow and Sunday. The weather's looking a little bit dicey for the Tigers, or for Detroit this weekend. Let's take a look again. The starting times, 1:10 tomorrow, 1:40 on Sunday. Hopefully they can get that Tigers game in tomorrow afternoon. The weather here in the Lansing area, about an hour and a half away, looking a little dicey tomorrow. So obviously we'll keep an eye on that. But the weather's going to be good tonight for the Tigers as they open up that 3-game set against the Chicago White Sox. And then after that, they go on the road for 6, 3 at Pittsburgh and 3 at Kansas City. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thanks for taking time out to be with us here on Tigers Daily. Until tomorrow, Captain Lou saying keep your heads up, keep your sticks down, keep your feet moving, and as always, keep your minds open. So long.